Yo guys, Vision SGen here bringing you the full Hulk guide following the latest Season 3 update, breaking down all of his abilities including the team up and addressing both his strengths and weaknesses. This is episode 25 of my Hero Series guides with all of the previous episodes on my channel and linked in the description below. So on that note, let's get on into it. So first things first, Hulk is a Vanguard in this game for obvious reasons, an off-tank who's effective at diving, brawling, sustain, team support with his indestructible guard, the Gamma Bubble, as well as his CC ability, the crowd control ability that is used to stun enemies, freezing them and making them easy to remove. Now he's an off-tank because he's more of a secondary tank, someone that you want in the squad alongside a primary damage blocking and damage mitigating tank such as a shielding tank or an Emma Frost and so on. Someone that's more point focused and can stay in front of the teammates, whilst Hulk then thrives by doing what he does best, by diving and utilizing his leap and his greatest sustain abilities to try and keep himself alive whilst aggroing the other team supports, pressuring them and stopping them from building those ultimates to win them team fights. And then that way you're going to be more effective at slowing down the other team and disrupting that pace of their game, but also making sure that you dive back to your teammates to support them and peel for any type of protection when they get dove on and so on. It's about mastering that combo, but this is what he is most effective for. Now, because Hulk actually has 3 different forms in this game, there's various different types of stats and abilities that you'll want to consider when you're using Hulk and trying to learn about how to use him. So for Bruce Banner, his base health is actually at 200, which makes him the squishiest target in the entire game. So when you're out of Hulk form, you are extremely susceptible to being dove on and sort of hit with those one-hit combos. For Hulk, he has a 650 base health and a movement speed of 6.5 meters per second, making him one of the faster moving characters in the game. And then for Monster Hulk, the ultimate version, he has a 1400 base health with a movement speed of 6.5 as well. Now, same as the abilities, there are various different types of abilities due to the different forms. So starting with Bruce, he actually has the Gamma Ray Gun as his primary attack, which deals 16 damage per hit, has a 25 ammo count and deals critical damage, and also fires 5 rounds per second, which is pretty cool and really fun to use. I've seen some players actually only use Bruce and trying to get sort of Lord status and trying to progress through the game using just Bruce, which is kind of bizarre. I don't know why anyone would do that, but you can do it. You just have to be really sort of passive and conservative and make sure you're using your teammates as bait and making sure you're sort of playing really smart and sensible. But for the most part, I wouldn't recommend it. And then in addition to this, he also has the Gamma Grenade by pressing L2, which launches enemies up in the air and deals 40 damage in a 3-meter radius, which also has an 8-second cooldown. Now, when you enter this green mist of the Gamma Grenade, it actually generates 50 gamma energy to transform basically back into Hulk. So you want to be placing this sort of relatively close to your feet so that you can sort of make sure you're taking the effect of this as well, and also using it as like a smoke screen to disguise yourself and keep yourself alive. Now also, by pressing then L3 and R3 together, just like your ultimate, allows Banner to then use his puny Banner ability to transform back into Hulk, making him the invincible and immobilized during this state, but basically allows him to transform into Hulk. So as for his abilities, his primary attack is the Heavy Blow, which is a melee based ability which has a 4.5 meter range, dealing 40 damage per hit and a half a second attack speed, so basically 2 hits per second, so 80 damage per second. So at close range you can see he deals a crazy amount of damage, especially to those squishy targets. Now as for his R1 ability, this is known as the Gamma Burst, is a ranged ability where he can basically emit a gamma ray, bursting and inflicting 70 damage, which can pierce through multiple enemies and has an 8-second cooldown and a projectile speed of 80 meters per second. So this can fire at a decently fast speed whilst also piercing through multiple enemies. So in funneled situations, this is a really good ability to have. And combined with his L1 ability, the Radioactive Lockdown, which is his immobilizer, it freezes enemies when they're hit, and then basically is a strong crowd control ability when used right. You can freeze someone that dives over aggressively on your backline, leaving them and making them vulnerable to being dove on by your entire team, and just using that to get a numbers advantage. Also, you can use it to stun the likes of a squishy target yourself and then pick them off with ease, or even a flyer, bringing them out of the sky and then making them also susceptible for you basically taking them out of the sky. This ability freezes them for 2 seconds and has a 15-second cooldown to avoid it being overpowered, of course, but also if enemies who are immobilized are hit, they will prematurely be taken out of this frozen state. So it's useful if you're precise and can hit those flying enemies, taking them out of the air and taking them out of the sky, as dive heroes who are also planning on performing a combo on squishy teammates are also useful to use this ability on. Now as for his square ability, this is known as the Indestructible Guard, is probably one of his most skill related abilities in my opinion, where he generates a gamma shield for himself and any other nearby allies, absorbing and converting damage into energy for Hulk Smash, which is his ultimate ability. Now this ability in my opinion, as I said, is skill related, as trying to protect your teammates as well as yourself takes time to perfect and really boost your overall team survivability and in team fights, especially when you're trying to sort of play in numbers disadvantages. So if you can use this to protect your teammates, you're acting as like a pseudo support in a way. The fact that you can buff and protect your teammates whilst also then maintaining that damage output, this is really key. And I find that if people don't really know how to use this, you don't really know how to keep yourself alive for a long period of time, and also your teammates more importantly. So if you can perfect this, trying to make sure you dive back to your team and use this shield to both protect them but also use it as a damage absorber and converter to allow you to feed and build your ultimate much faster. Now it has a 5 meter range and a 10-second cooldown and provides both yourself with a 200 hit point shield for yourself, as well as a 100 hit point shield for your teammates, which lasts for 2.5 seconds. The special effect of this ability is that when Hulk shields take damage, 100% of that damage is converted into gamma energy, and when an ally shield takes damage, 10% of that damage is converted into energy, which allows you to build on your ultimate ability much faster when you're involved in the chaos and staying aggressive and incentivizing you for sort of being that chaotic hero that he should be. Now, to do this effectively and maximize his potential, you are then trying to stay engaged, which relies on using his incredible leap ability. By pressing and holding X or L2 on PlayStation as Hulk, you can perform a charge leap that allows Hulk to knock flying enemies out of the air and into the ground. You need to effectively charge this or hold this button down for 0.5 seconds to leap smaller distances, and a maximum charge time of 2 seconds to then leap further, which basically allows you to travel between 19 and 25 meters per second, depending on your charge time, of course, which is really crazy because you can get around that really, really fast. You can also then press X or L2 whilst you're in the air as well to cling onto walls and use that as an advantage to sort of surprise enemies and use that element to actually catch people out the sky and stuff like that. And as I said, this ability is crucial to master if you're going to hit Hulk's potential, basically combining his aggression, kit management, team support and buffs, and peeling back to protect those squishy teammates of yours and those supports. Now, as for the Hulk smash, the ultimate ability, by pressing L3 and R3 once again, once the energy meter of 3,400 energy has been met, will allow you to transform into Monster Hulk, and in this form, you are effectively twice as strong. You pretty much have 1,400 health, you are ridiculously strong, you have access to both the radioactive ability, that freeze ability, as well as the gamma burst ability, the piercing one, which is R1. The gamma burst now instead deals 125 damage, which is crazy, and only a 1 second cooldown. Meanwhile, his CC ability does the same thing by stunning enemies, but instead has a reduced cooldown of 5 seconds. Now, in addition to these abilities, you also have access to the iconic World Breaker ability, where you're able to grab and smash the enemy right in front of you, which delivers 5 hits, and each one dealing 40 damage over the 5-second duration, and has a 5-meter range of grabbing enemies. Whilst performing the Hulk smash, Hulk actually gains a 30% damage reduction whilst using this as well, so it can actually be more useful to perform in addition to it just being very cool and funny to use, especially on those annoying pesty enemies. Once you get hold of them and you know you're basically going to kill them, it's really cool. But obviously as well, you can use this in situations where you know you're going to take a shitload of damage and you will want to be the primary focus point of anyone targeting you, whilst also absorbing a lot less damage. Now, as for his team abilities, he actually has 2. The first one is the Gamma Boost, where basically Hero Hulk and Monster Hulk gain 100 extra max health, whilst Hulk charges Namor with Gamma Radiation and allows basically Namor to have an extra Gamma Monster, which is super OP, and especially being a strong counter-type hero already, having this ability and this combo in this current meta and this dynamic is a really strong team ability, and especially in this current meta, as I said. Now, as for his second team ability, he also has the Gamma Fastball ability, where basically he shares with Wolverine and he can interact with one another, and basically allows, once both parties confirm, Hulk to lift Wolverine onto his shoulder and basically hurl him 20 meters across the field and use it as like an entry attack in order to basically pick someone out of the air, get Wolverine backline to then use his snatch ability to pull them back into your team and isolate them. That's kind of how you want to use it. It's more of a gimmick for the most part. You don't really see people use it sort of during team fights or anything like that, but it's definitely something I would use and consider if you have a Wolverine on your team for entry, but also just for the sake of it being cool and really funny. Once you get someone in that action, it's also just really cool to watch. Now, in summary, Hulk is basically the perfect off-tank due to his kit, evasive and dive playstyle, as well as his strong survivability, making him one of the strongest sort of secondary Vanguards in the entire game. Although he can be used as sort of a main tank, a primary tank in certain systems, when you have a traditional damage blocker on the squad, a more shielding and damage mitigating tank such as the likes of Strange, Magneto, or even Groot, Hulk will be far more effective, in my opinion, in a 2-tank setup. And in my opinion, he's one of the hardest heroes to master in the entire game. Someone I've not quite got the hang of yet at the Grandmaster Celestial level, but definitely a great versatile tank to have in your bag, especially if you're a Vanguard main, because being able to play this different style is really crucial, especially in certain setups. And again, as I said, if you want a Namor on your team and you want someone to be strong against dive heroes, this is a really good team ability to utilize. So if you can play Hulk, you're really going to expand your Vanguard sort of bag. So make sure you sort of pick this character up and try and use him, especially the fact that he's actually really fun once you get the hang of how you use his leap, how you use his indestructible guard, and how to sort of stun enemies at key moments, especially those flies out the air. If you can grab them or stun them out the air, he's a really fun character to use. But that's pretty much it, guys, for the most part. If you guys have enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe as always, as it massively helps me out. If you have any comments or tips or tricks on how to use Hulk, or any sort of cool clips that you want to share about being a part of a Hulk setup, if you're a Namor or if you play Hulk as a main, let me know down below in the comments, as I'd be interested to hear your thoughts and I'll get right back to you. I'm Vision SGN. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.